just web analytics anymore. It's got a whole ecosystem. It's about a whole ecosystem of what your users are doing when they leave your site, trying to market to them in a way that's relevant, in a way that's useful. So this is one of the ways that web analytics is really evolving. And just on the segmentation note, even at a basic level, segmentation is one of those things that just gets lost in the shuffle repeatedly. And no matter what kind of site you're managing, if you think of your audience as more than one constituency, as many of us do, the example of the business traveler versus leisure traveler. If one of your users clicks on a leisure travel link, you have enough information in that URL to define that segment, and you should be doing most of your analysis within the segment. You're not going to get insight from looking at all your data monolithically. You don't want to over-segment, as Dan said, but if you have different audience constituencies, use behavioral segmenting because you're going to get to insights faster. If I could stand on my head to emphasize that point, I would. It's super important. It's hard to get insight from this. It's much, not easier, but it's faster, more practical to get insights within meaningful audience segments. So thank you very much, Dan, and continuing the conversation about next generation Google Analytics, we have Gayle Wheaton, who has come here from New York City. She's in the New York office, and also Gayle's support was really indispensable in organizing this event and getting it to this point with lights and air conditioning or heat or whatever they're running now and everything else that we're enjoying as creatures. So thank you very much to Gayle.
Okay, last presentation of the day, yay. As Eric mentioned, thank you so much. My name is Gayle Wheaton. I manage our strategic partnerships for Google Analytics Premium. And what I would like to talk about today is Google Analytics Premium, where it came from, what it means to be different from our standard product, and also our partnership with eNor and how we support each other. So, how many people are familiar with the Premium product? Not that many, I'd say 20%, so this is good for everyone to know. And Mobi TV is already on it, so some of the stuff that you were talking about is capable with our products. That's really exciting to hear. So about 10 years ago, the standard product started, and you all know and love it. It's really easy to use. You can get great insights, great remarketing. But about 4 years ago is when we started hearing from the marketplace that people wanted a little bit more. They wanted to have a contract that they could sign so they knew they were getting SLAs. They wanted faster data processing, the ability to do more complex reporting, and so we created Premium for them. Since then, we've grown to 700 clients globally and 400 clients in the US. And the way that we work with eNor and some of our other partners is when we were first starting Premium, back 4 years ago, we needed people to help us sell Premium because our sales team is very nimble. And so we enlisted eNor to resell the product for us. So they're basically an extension of our sales team, and also they provide consulting. So when you work with eNor, they help you build dashboards, they help you do the BigQuery integration. They're really a hands-on, high-touch consultant to their clients. So thank you so much, Eric. It's been great so far. Okay. The one thing that all of these clients had in common, they're all in different verticals, different sizes. What they had in common when they came to us is they didn't really know the differences between Premium and Standard. And so that's what I'm going to tell you so you know. And since we're in marketing, I love to talk about personas, so I've created these three for today's presentation, and we'll keep coming back to them. So the first one is me. You can tell I'm wearing the same dress. I'm 30 years old. I recently And the example store that I'm going to use, just to have something concrete to put our minds around, is Zappos. Zappos isn't a client, it's just a brand that I love that a lot of you probably love too. So when I shop at Zappos, I go there, I would say once a month, and I buy probably 2 or 3 things every month. So I'm what Zappos would call a loyal customer. And then we have Ferris, and he is a dad. I think he has 2 daughters. He works a lot. And when he goes to Zappos, he goes like once every 3 months to buy a few things for his daughters. He spends less than I do, so he is their average customer. And then this is Beyonce. I'm just realizing that I didn't give her any pants, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But Beyonce is, she's a mom. She's a 2-year-old daughter, and she doesn't go to Zappos that often because she's really busy, but when she goes, she buys really expensive stuff, like really, really nice stuff. So she is a high-value customer. So I'll keep coming back to this. So the first difference between standard and premium is that with premium, you can analyze all of your data. There's no restrictions. So let's say Zappos has a blog, and they're trying to measure which personas come and read my blog daily. And if they were using standard, and this were all of their data, this is what they'd see. So the little gray guys currently don't have a persona assigned to them because they weren't typed like me, Ferris, or Beyonce. So if this is all your data, the insight that you gain is that all of us, me, Beyonce, and Ferris, come to the blog, and so Zappos would continue creating content for all of us. But the problem that some people run into, depends on your company, is that this isn't your data. Your data looks like this, and bigger. Like you have a lot of data. And when that happens, in the standard tool, we can't always process everything at once for you, and so we'll take a sample. And depending on what you're trying to segment and search for, your sample can end up differently. So the example I'm showing you here came out like this. So can anyone tell me the difference here between this data and 2 slides ago?
Subset.
Yeah, it's a subset. And the one thing that points out to me is that Beyonce is way less represented here. There's one Beyonce, and there's multiple me and Ferris. So if I was going to take the insight here, it would be that me and Ferris read the blog, but Beyonce doesn't really like the blog. And then Zappos wouldn't create content for Beyonce, which is not good because she's a high-value customer. So there's some nuances, and we can talk about this after the presentation, but the takeaway is if you're trying to get an insight on a specific segment and you need to take a sample for that segment, you might be less confident in the data. And with premium, you never have to worry about that because you have access to all of your data.
Do you mean you summarize persona, and by looking across the board, that you summarize, not sampling, you summarize things together?
Sorry, what's the question?
So do you mean you don't sample, you actually summarize the persona?
Well, I am taking a sample there, and I'm segmenting the sample by using those personas. So it's not only a sample, but it's a smaller part of a sample, so I'm just looking at specific personas. So go ahead.
So is sampling used across the board, or is it just used when you're doing some very special kinds of reports like segmentation?
Yeah, generally it's just used when, so the reason why we have sampling is because if you are going to look at a big set of data and then add a segment to it, it takes more processing power for Google. And so we say, we actually can't look at all your data, we're just gonna look at a segment of it. And that's why we do that in standard. And in some cases it's fine, but when you're doing things that are really specific, it can make you less confident, which is what I'm showing here.
But the overall traffic statistics and those sorts of things are not sampled.
Yeah, like all the reports on the left-hand side, those aren't sampled, those are good.
And you don't differentiate if the website has, you know, traffic above a certain threshold, then you start sampling, versus if it's a smaller website, then, you know, it wouldn't consume so much processing, then you don't need to sample, you don't do anything like that.
No, it just, so it is actually the same threshold for everyone. And once you get above that and you start doing more complex things, that's when it kicks in. I'm gonna hold it there for the sampling questions. I know it's a complex topic, so I can come back to these afterwards. But the point is anyone like seeing this right now in the standard tool? Or Mobi TV, did you see it before you moved? Yeah. So if you see it, if you don't see it, then it's fine. But if you see it and it's an issue, then it might be a reason to upgrade to premium. Great. And the other reason for reporting that people really like premium is because there's higher data limits. So with standard, there's hit limits of how much data you can send us. With premium, there's essentially no limit. You can send us all your data. There's also an increase in the custom dimensions and metrics. So instead of 20 in the standard tool, there's 200 in premium. Custom dimensions and metrics are things like creating personas, or are the users logged in or logged out. So if you're Zappos, you probably have a lot of things that you want to track, and that's why that increase is really good. And lastly, 4-hour data freshness. Instead of with standard, it's generally 1 to 2 days. So if you want to get your insights, like if you posted a blog article and then you want to review what's going on instantly afterwards, you don't have to wait a few days to do that. You can do it that very day and make changes. Okay. So the next reason why premium differs from the standard tool is that we integrate with some of our Google products. The first product here is DoubleClick Campaign Manager, and the easiest way to explain this is it's like the advertising display tool in AdWords display, but with DoubleClick to reach the entire web, not just the Google Display Network. And with the integration, you can see all of your marketing behavior from the DoubleClick campaign. So did someone view my ad? Did someone click on my ad? And then connect that with what the people are doing on your site. Did they end up purchasing, or did they walk away from my products? So I'm going to give you 2 examples of what you'll see if you don't have the integration versus if you do have the integration. This is Ferris, and this is what actually happened to him one day. So he saw a display ad, and he didn't click on it. He just saw it and then read something else, and then it happened again, and then he went back and searched for those shoes that he saw in the ad, and then he converted. If you don't have the integration with DoubleClick Campaign Manager and Google Analytics Premium, you unfortunately don't get that view-through display data. But if you do have the integration, then all of that data is right in your Google Analytics Premium account, so you can see the connection of the dots there.
But if it's click-through, then you would see that. If it's display click, you would see that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If anyone didn't hear, she said if it's click-through, you'll see it, but if it's view-through, you don't see it. And so the issue with not looking at the view-through data is that this data likely influenced Ferris, but if you aren't seeing it, you have no idea to give any credit to that display campaign. And now the question is, okay, now that you have this display data, now that you know something happened, how much credit should you give to all of these different touch points along the conversion path? And so we're getting into attribution, which is another complex topic. Show of hands, how many people use any attribution model at all? Yeah, that's a good amount. It's really, even with our clients when they first start, it's something that they're very eager to get into. They've heard a lot about, but it is hard. So I think that was maybe half of the room. So what we have in Google Analytics Premium is a special model called the data-driven attribution model. I'm actually going to go back one. I'm going to just tell you one more thing about this. So if you're looking, if you weren't using this data-driven attribution model, and you were just using a model like the last click model, which is what a lot of people use, and it's a good proxy, but isn't always entirely accurate if you're trying to get the full view, you would just be looking at, like if you knew all this about Ferris, but you were looking at the last click model, you would only attribute the conversion credit to search, which, as we mentioned before, isn't totally accurate because he saw 2 display ads before he searched. So now we've built this data-driven attribution model that actually is an algorithm in Google Analytics Premium that looks at every single conversion path and tells you how much credit you should attribute to each channel. So here's the example. I, one day, search for shoes on Zappos. I later get an email, and then I convert. And then I later do another conversion path where I search, and then I get a display ad, and then I get an email ad, and then I convert. And so what Google Analytics Premium does with this model is it measures the likelihood to purchase in both cases. And you'll see that when there was a display ad, I was 50% more likely to convert. So this is huge. Like, this is in Premium. All you have to do is run the query and it does it for you. And it's not just 2 lines, it's every single possible conversion path that people are taking. And then it tells you, okay, you should likely relook at this display campaign because it looks like it's doing well. And it's based on, for the statisticians in the room, it's based on the Shapley method. And it's out of the box, so you can download the model, you can see the math behind it. It's totally open for you.
And is this different from odometry?
It is different from odometry. Odometry has similar methodologies, but I would say they can do even more than we can do. Yeah, odometry is another Google attribution product. All right, 2 more integrations that I want to talk about. So this one is DoubleClick Bid Manager. This is our real-time programmatic bidding tool. And what this enables you to do, talking about remarketing again, is remarket to users all over the web. So not just the Google Display Network, but everywhere. And remarket to specific users, not just every user, depending on if you have this integration or not. So if you have DoubleClick Bid Manager and have Google Analytics Premium, but they aren't integrated, you'll want to integrate them because there are benefits there. So here's the example I have. These shoes. Who do you think out of me, Ferris, and Beyonce is interested in these shoes? Ferris, yeah, you are totally right. Yeah. So it's actually Beyonce, but if you didn't have the integration, you would say, okay, I want to remarket to users based on the data I have. And with DoubleClick Bid Manager, the data that you have is likely, did someone come to my site? Did someone convert on my site? Really basic information like that. So if you base your audience list on that, you will remarket to Beyonce, but you'll also remarket to me and Ferris, which doesn't really make sense because we're not interested in those shoes. But if you have the integration, what you can do is build your remarketing list based on GA Premium data. And with GA Premium, you know that you get data like, did Beyonce look at these shoes 10 times and put them in her shopping cart and then leave? Does she read her blog every day? What else does she do on her site? Like, lots and lots of information. And so you can create a really specific list, depending how specific you want to get, to target the Beyoncés of the world. And this is what it would look like with the Bid Manager integration. And then the last integration is Google BigQuery, which is my personal favorite. It's really exciting. People are just going crazy over this. And what it allows you to do is export all of your Google Analytics Premium data, all of your raw data, into Google BigQuery for analysis. So one of our clients is US Cellular, and we did a case study with them. And what they were trying to figure out with this integration was where should we attribute our sales? Because we have our website and we have our stores, and we don't know if there's overlap there. And so right now we're just giving all of the credit to our stores. So what they did is they sent their Google Analytics premium data into BigQuery, and then they sent their data from their stores into BigQuery, and they used a unique identifier to connect the dots. So they connected premium data with their store data. And what they saw was that actually the people who are converting in the store started out on the website. So they started there and then they went to the store and then they converted. And so they reattributed that credit. Instead of giving it all to the store, they said the website has a big influence here too. So that was huge for US Cellular. Like before they really had a hunch but had no data behind it. And now it's changing the way that they're investing and planning. And you can do a lot of things with this, like not just your offline data, but your CRM data. And you can export these things, like Moby TV said, to Tableau and show a really nice dashboard there. So I would say this can be one of the more complex integrations because there's so much that you can do with it. And someone like Enor is really, really a good person to help you with this because they already do it for some of their clients. So, what did we talk about today? We talked about sampling. It's a confusing topic. In Premium, you get all of your data, data-driven attribution, the integrations with our double-click products and with BigQuery. And you also get Premium support and SLAs when you sign a contract. So if you have questions, you can talk to me, Ferris, Eric, and again, they are a very special partner of ours, so thank you so much.